Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. Here basically we are discussing one of the topic that is city creation. City creation basically we are discussing one of the topic that is future creation. Future creation basically we are discussing that is basically the India account. In the India account basically we are discussing what basically. In India account basically we are discussing what. So one of the person told that in India account basically we are discussing the ideas basically. In ideas basically we are discussing that in future basically if anybody says that basically the ideas are connecting to to cities, states to states, and countries to countries. So can you basically give the list of examples basically why this in Gujarat only basically the earthquake has happened? Why in Maharashtra only the earthquake has happened? Why in Karnataka only the earthquake has happened? Why in Delhi only the earthquake has happened? Why in Kerala only the earthquake has happened? Why in Jammu Kashmir only the earthquake has happened? Why in UAE? We are talking about in India only. Why? Because currently I'm in India, so I'm just talking about the India. Then basically you can say why basically the earthquake has happened in Jharkhand. Why basically the earthquakes happened in UP? Why the earthquake has happened in Uttar Pradesh? Why the earthquake had happened in Bihar basically? Can you please tell this basically? Then one person told that basically the satellite group basically only have the data because this whole idea only basically can connect to satellite group basically because they only activates everything basically. They only activates the stuff basically. Human basically thinks. Human thinks basically. Human basically says that this is this is that each and everything basically they think. But the activation of the energy basically in the environment basically that only the satellite group can do basically. Even the nuclear power company and the energy company and the power company basically don't have the power to activate the ideas basically which is getting generated in the environment basically. Because when you are basically communicating with the stuff basically, that is basically generating the ideas basically, and which is going to connect to environment basically, and it will connect to basically any of the energy basically. In that energy basically earthquake basically might be the one of the energy. So if another person tells, do you have the list basically in how many basically ideas are basically dumped in the Gujarat state basically, in Karnataka state, in Hyderabad basically, in Karnataka, in the Jammu Kashmir, in the Bihar, in the Uttar Pradesh, in the Madhya Pradesh, or basically in the Delhi basically. Do you have the list of ideas? Then satellite group told that basically we have basically, but your people basically might not be having. So that basically was the answer. But that's very dangerous, na basically. But the nuclear power company group basically might be having. But the data science project basically mostly basically might be having, but might not be having. We can't basically 100% say that basically the data basically might be having. So one person told that, do you have the list of ideas which is basically dumped in the Gujarat state basically in the form of cities? For example, Vadodara city. Vadodara city has generated how many ideas in their environment basically? They few people told that the chartered accountant degree basically was launched in Vadodara city. So whatever new problems or basically the new chapter basically or whatever things is going to be covered into the chartered accountant books basically, which all are new, that basically only in Vadodara city the development happens. So one person told that, so chartered accountant basically are controlled by Vadodara city. So one person told that chartered accountant degree basically is generating which human needs, because nowadays it's a digital world and each education sector basically are generating the human needs. So they told that basically we are generating apple and grapes. So in world basically there are many types of apple and grapes. You will not believe this basically that for example 100 types of grapes are basically there in world basically. So one of the person told that, yeah, basically I am basically the chartered accountant person basically. So for specially for me basically, is there any grapes basically which is created? That was basically the very dangerous question basically. and there is no answer of anyone because all grapes are basically looking same basically. 100 types of grapes basically are there. So one person asks the question, I am the chartered accountant person basically, I want my grapes basically, do you have basically that? So there was no answer for the city creation group basically. City who creates the city na basically, who say that basically we have basically we are the responsible person basically for grapes in Vadodara city. So they told that no sir, we don't have the answer basically. Why? Because there is no project basically for this. You basically can't write that basically this grapes is basically for chartered accountant people basically. You can't write that basically. But in really basically it's like that only. This grapes is for chartered accountant. Whenever you will have that grapes basically you will be your accountant degree will basically going to be active basically, and that is going to generate what? That is going to generate grapes energies and apple energy, whatever basically energy. So here one of the person told that they are producing everything basically, they are producing the apple and grapes basically. So one person told that the chartered accountant group basically, for example, there are 1 crore chartered accountant in India basically. So that 1 crore chartered accountant group basically are generating apple and grapes. So whenever basically the demand and supply of the apple and grapes basically gets effect, you have to pick the chartered accountant groups basically. So that basically the healthcare department basically takes care of that basically. And the energy departments of the nuclear power company basically say that basically we are basically handling the grapes and apple demand supply. So you can just imagine the economist basically connected here. So this basically is the dangerous world basically, I am telling you. Nobody basically can, nobody have this project basically, I am telling you. If any of the software company basically gets the projects, starts the project, then basically they are going to be into well 1 crore chartered accountant group basically. They are into the demand supply of grapes and apple. So you can just imagine demand and supply of the apple and grapes basically related to which is generating by the chartered accountant groups. That connects to like this. So one of the person, how basically they segregate basically. So for that basically they have the rates basically. Price basically. That chartered accountant grapes price is this. So you can just imagine basically. So for one person told that basically MBA basically. So one person told that MBA basically there are around 10 crore MBAs and they are generating vegetables, potato and tomato. So whenever the potato and tomato demand supply is going to get effect, that will be MBA group basically. And going to effect means that is controlled by the doctors group and the energy groups and power groups and the nuclear power company groups, because all are connected basically. And according to the MBA groups basically working in the certain level of companies, because and the companies are basically handling those group basically, and who are basically the business owner basically and the MBA groups, they are basically handled by set of other groups basically. So the demand and supply basically, you will not believe it basically. Like this basically the MBA groups basically handles the potato and tomato demand supply. You will not believe this basically. So one person told that the earthquake basically which now basically came na basically, that is due to potato energy. This type of earthquake also basically happens. One was ideas, second was the human needs, earthquakes basically. And basically there is no tracking system basically in this world which will say that basically the earthquake basically just now which was happened, that was due to this idea and due to this human needs basically. The combination basically, nobody have the project basically, you will not believe it basically. So one of the person told that from there are many software companies like TCS, Infosys, eClearX basically are there, they basically, but they are not into this basically. Why? Because they basically know that basically that there is something like this basically, but they have not entered into this. So there are many some different companies basically, like big company who basically knows that MBA degree groups basically are generating vegetables, potato and tomato, and the other degrees basically like chartered accountant groups basically, they are generating apple and grapes. That degree basically and their energies basically. You will not believe it. So one of the person told that the chartered accountant grapes and apple basically whoever basically eats. So their basically body structure, everything basically connects to how basically. Because this is very dangerous topic basically, because each and every human needs which you eat, that have death data also. That is basically called as a boundary, and that basically is decided by the Bollywood groups basically. And this Bollywood group basically, mostly basically they have to be clear that this data basically we don't have, because each and every human needs basically which you generate, that is displayed in the form of Bollywood format basically. That is, this is the apple basically, and this is generated from the chartered accountant degree. They basically have created lots of movies also basically. For example, chartered accountant degree, grapes and apple has created, and grapes and apple basically is going to generate 108 ideas, 108 ideas, and the 108 ideas basically are this all ideas basically which is going to generate this all this all this all display basically, this all display basically. For example, one person told that I basically had apple basically from which was created from the chartered accountant degree. So I basically was performing these all activities. That was basically, you can say, I was basically good able to concentrate the thing basically. My wealth basically was good. My health basically got improved. I basically connected to the good management group basically. In the management basically, I was able to understand what actually the management group was saying. Just now basically I attended one CEO seminar basically, online seminar basically. So that was connecting to this. For one person told that I basically understood the CEO seminar basically. One person told that I basically was not able to understand. Why? Because he basically he told that basically I had that apple and grapes basically. In that basically the CEO idea also basically was connected. So CEO is one subject basically which have basically many books and which have basically many ideas. So he told that basically I understood that. Why? Because I had that human needs basically. If he had that human needs, and according to the experience, it connected to CEO data basically. And that time basically he understood whatever things was told. But the another person basically was not able to. Why? Because he also basically had that apple, but he was not able to. Why? Because his work basically was not matching to that human needs basically which he had basically. Because by eating apple basically, direct eating apple basically, you can't understand the CEO stuff basically. For that basically, you have to do certain level of work also related to management basically. But he was able to understand easily. Why? Because his blood was connected up to management stuff on the base of this chartered accountant group basically, who had created apple and grapes. And apple and grapes basically there was 108 ideas. So you can just imagine. So you can just imagine basically what are the stuff basically. So here one person told that Bollywood group basically have the data of each and every human needs basically which people are eating. Then they told that basically they might be having here basically. That's why they are taking 200, 300 crore rupee. And public is giving 200, 300 crore. Here the main thing is government is also basically telling that basically you take 200 crore, you take 300 crore. Why? Because they are doing up to level of task basically. You will not believe it basically. Risk factor is up to that level also, because they are doing up to that level task. The one person basically had the apple that is going to generate certain level of ideas, and that idea basically is done in the boundary side basically, and that boundary basically is displayed in the Bollywood format also, that is the in the serials and in the movies basically. You will not believe in the assume that basically till now Bollywood group has created 1 crore movie, so all 1 crore movie are connected like this only basically. So one of the person told that do the Bollywood group basically have the idea, have the list of the category wise of the movies. They told that basically we have basically, but on paper basically we don't have, but we don't have the projects. So suddenly basically the software industry basically connected to the Bollywood groups, and because Bollywood groups are because the who are the big businessmen basically, who are the big business software businessmen basically, they immediately connected to Bollywood industry and told that basically this is the proposal plan. You basically we basically have this. So he basically told that basically you have the requirement of this whole thing basically. Then they told that yes, yeah basically. How you got this information basically? So like this basically they connected to the Bollywood and they told that basically you have the requirement basically. Yes, basically we will sign the agreement basically that basically you are doing this project. Like this is the one more project generated here. Like this basically in the video only basically many projects generated here basically. You will not believe it basically. So one of the person told that yeah basically how complicated the world has created. Because if you are having apple, grapes, this, that, each and everything basically, and which is generating ideas. So 109 multiply by 109 multiply by this, 100 multiply by 100, 100 multiply by 1000, like this. What is the number basically? You will not believe this is the very dangerous thing basically. I am telling you. For that basically, for that's why basically the satellites basically are kept there basically to capture each and every ideas which is getting connected. So one of the person told that this was very dangerous thing basically. That's why this nowadays basically the software industry has told that basically we are keeping each and every data basically. For example, the chartered accountant groups is chartered accountant books basically are energies are generating apple and grapes basically. For that basically how that process is basically happening, on the basis of which books the energy is getting generated, how the chartered accountant groups are basically generating the chartered accountant degree, and how basically they according to the percentage the quality of apple and grapes are getting generated. That all data basically we have kept basically. Software industry told that basically. So they told that like this basically we have kept each and every idea, but we don't have this idea. What? 109 idea multiply by 109 idea multiply by 100 multiply by 1000 multiply by 2000 multiply by 10,000 multiply by 1 lakh multiply by this, which is connecting to some exa data. That basically data we don't have here basically. The new ideas basically, which is going to generate by the human bodies. That idea basically Sunil we don't have basically. For that basically we have to create some project basically. For that basically few people says that AI basically came into picture. Why basically the AI came into the picture basically? Lots of people says that basically what is AI basically? So this basically just now I told them basically that is the AI basically. That is the best live example of AI basically. You will not believe it basically. So one of the person told that there are basically many processing basically happening basically in the world basically. That is basically given the name as a data warehouse basically. So that data warehouse basically can do this basically without performing in the human bodies basically. So one of the person told that that was very dangerous question basically asked by Sunil R. Nair basically. That's why basically the IBM groups, Compaq group, Microsoft group, they all basically connects to the data warehouse. That basically had given name as a data science project. They've somebody given the name also. That basically this basically is the data science project. That basically data is processing in the processor, which is going to generate new ideas. So here basically they told that basically the human bodies basically are not getting used here. They have generated computers up to that level that the human body is generating the Sorry, the computers are generating the ideas. So after the confirmation, basically they launches the ideas. So this type of thing is also basically there, but that is basically very high technology basically. Just now basically everything has launched on data science, data warehouse basically. Previously, the human body was doing that basically, but that connected to very dangerous stuff basically. Why? Because human body basically are very dangerous. But computer is computer basically. It's not a human. So they generated like that. For that basically they have created lots of robot also for testing purpose. You will not believe this basically. Lots of people says that robot basically was launched by one of the companies basically. Few people says that basically this chip basically one of the chip basically for which is controlling the brain basically which was launched. So this is connecting to this only basically. So one of the person told that we basically got something new basically, but this is not new for few people basically. So each and every innovation in this world basically, each and every creation basically in this world basically is connecting to something basically. So they are basically not like that basically they have creating such chip basically, they are creating the robots basically, they are creating the chips basically which is going to control lots of things basically. They are not creating like that basically. It's connecting up to this level basically. You will not believe it. That is 109 multiplied by 100 multiplied by 100 and 1000 multiplied by 2000 multiplied by 1 lakh multiplied by 10 lakh 10 lakh 1 crore like this. It's going to connect to something new idea basically. So one of the person told that yaar, this is very dangerous thing basically. You just now told Sunil basically. We actually never thought this basically. But some group basically have thought this basically. That's why they created chips, they created robot also, they created lots of things basically. They have created for this purpose only. But lots of few things basically are new for those group also who actually created robot and who actually created the chips basically. So in next video basically we are going to see a little bit more about this topic, that is the ideas and how basically the ideas basically are connecting to the earthquakes. Just now basically we told that this was the in Gujarat basically there are basically 1,000 ideas or basically 1 lakh ideas. So any of the world basically is going to think this, that is going to connect to Vadodara property. That is basically 1 lakh idea which Vadodara city is telling that that is their property basically. So you can just imagine basically if you are creating any areas basically in Vadodara city, how carefully you have to create basically. How very dangerous thing basically is area creation also, because it's connecting to 1 lakh ideas basically, which is already generating basically, which is already generating the human needs and which is generated the human needs and which has basically done lots of processes basically. So creating the city basically who are basically moving the red batti car basically, they are doing how dangerous tasks basically. You will not believe it basically. How dangerous tasks basically they are doing. How dangerous tasks the MLAs are doing. How dangerous tasks the corporators are doing. How dangerous tasks the chief ministers are doing. How dangerous tasks the finance minister are doing. How dangerous tasks the military, defense minister are doing. How dangerous tasks the prime minister are doing. How dangerous tasks the presidents basically are doing, because it's connecting to one. Here basically I have taken the example of Vadodara city. Vadodara city have 1 lakh ideas property. They have created many areas. In that area basically, whenever the whole in from whole world basically, whenever they are going to think of chartered accountant degree, connecting to chartered accountant degree, they are going to connect to Vadodara city. From there only basically the data is going to pass. So you can just imagine basically up to what level the world has created basically. And 1 lakh is the property of Vadodara city. And chartered accountant groups, has created many properties also, because their ideas are going to think, and they basically are going to get the power supply from chartered accountant area basically. And it's not written that basically chartered accountant group basically can stay in Ahmedabad only, can stay in Mumbai only, because they can stay anywhere here basically. So that's connecting the earthquake data, stable data, unstable data. Here basically whenever basically something new ideas basically connects, that basically have taken the combination basically, that is going to generate to earthquakes. And new ideas basically you can't stop it basically. New ideas basically you can't stop. If new ideas are basically not coming, that means basically something basically problem basically. Lots of people say that stay basically as it is basically, but that is not going to work. You have to keep doing process, because blood cells keeps on doing the process basically, and new ideas are basically going to happen basically, keeps on coming the new ideas basically, and it's going to connect to the physical area and going to connect to earthquake also. So one of the person told that each and every chartered accountant groups basically data has to be controlled. If they are generating some new ideas, then basically they have to be clear basically what is this idea basically, because once they have thought everything is basically is done, so environment is going to generate the energies. But here the main thing is that the ideas which is generating and which is going to generate in the environment basically, but it has not activated with the all other data. To activate that, only satellite groups can do, and they basically have given the control to nuclear power company, energy company and power company basically. So you can just imagine how dangerous the world is created. This is one of the way of earthquake. Vadodara city earthquake basically, that basically we have to, if Vadodara city will get earthquake basically, that is going to connect this way only basically. There are 1 lakh ideas basically in Vadodara city, and basically if anybody connects to new idea basically, and they keeps on connecting basically, but something basically special groups only basically can do that basically. That's why basically lots of people says that each and every people basically marks basically are the people who gets the marks now basically, that are basically watched by lots of big people basically. That basically, for example, in chartered accountant degree basically is from Vadodara city, that is the property of Vadodara city. So the Vadodara city will watch basically in this world basically how many chartered accountant people basically got how many marks, because they are going to connect to new ideas. And if they are going to connect to new ideas basically, and if the idea is very dangerous basically, very dangerous means it has connected to some advanced level chartered accountant degree, then basically the area basically of the chartered accountant basically, that is going to affect very badly. That will be the big earthquake in Vadodara city, but that is basically only in the chartered accountant area basically. So this is basically very dangerous matrix. That matrix basically we are going to discuss in next video.